When we transport a patient, we call it a VIP, a very important patient. And I'm about to bring somebody up who's going to share their story. Sometimes it doesn't always have a happy ending, but sometimes it does. And one of the best rewarding things about my job is meeting a patient after we've transported them. It takes a lot of courage to come up here and tell a story, very courageous. So I'd like to welcome all the way from Yellowgrass, Saskatchewan, Mr. Ryley Richards.
Well, let's see how this goes. Oh boy. Good evening, everybody. Wow, what an event this is. The ag community at its finest. One common goal tonight, guys, stars. I was asked to do this about a couple months ago, and I thought to myself, well, of course I will. I'll do anything for stars. Not really thinking there'd be 1,200 people in the room, but holy shit, is there a lot of people in the room. I've been very aware of what STARS is and what they do in providing critical emergency care for the people of this province. Seeing STARS fundraising campaigns, advertisements, and hearing of their rescues. It is true that STARS saves lives. Never in a million years did I think mine would be one of them, but with a lot of gratitude, that's what's put me in front of you tonight. My name is Ryley Richards, obviously stated, from Yellowgrass. I farm there with my wife, Jen, my kids, my mom and dad, Rod and Trudy, along with our team. February of 2021, I was on a snowmobiling trip up at our family cabin at Duck Mountain Provincial Park. Snow of 21 was awesome. It was deep. It was fun. It was deep as it gets. I joined up for a ride with 4 of my riding buddies. Well, actually, they're my dad's buddies, but I've been riding with these guys since I was in my teens. We set out to ride some of the backcountry just south of the park. There's an area of the community pasture we like to ride that's got a lot of hills and bush. We call it Little Revelstoke. It's as close to mountain riding as you can get when the conditions are right. This was one of those days. The only exception today was it was a balmy minus 25. Right around noon, things went a little off the rails. I always ride in the back of the pack. It allows me more time to play around and dork off, and I usually do the head count where we're going from one area to the next. As we were moving from one meadow to the next, I noticed that one of the guys ahead of me was stuck, Mitch. So I pulled up beside him in the powder, parked my sled, walked over, gave him a quick ski pull, got him on his way. I then made my way back to my sled to get going again. So I climbed on my sled with 1 foot on the running board, 1 foot off. Was just gonna burp the throttle a couple times to get the sled moving in the powder. If you ride sleds, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Get it moving. On the second burp, the throttle froze wide open. With a massive surge of acceleration, I was thrown into a full catwalk, 1 foot on the running board, completely off balance. By the time I was able to get control of the sled was coming down. I realized I was headed direct for a group of trees. The only option at this point was jumping. I jumped to the left as hard as I could, with my eyes as wide as pie plates, staring at the tree I was about to smash into. I was just able to get my chin around the tree. I still think to this day, had my chin hit that tree, there's no way I'm here today. Next thing I know, I'm lying on my back. Helmets across my face, I can't see a thing. I have an immense amount of pain from my hips down, and I can't move the lower half of my body. I'm completely winded at this point, can't breathe for the life of me, living on the planet with no air, it seemed like. As I was able to finally start breathing again, I tried to reach up with my left hand to pull the helmet off my face. For the life of me, I couldn't make my left hand work. The tree had completely smashed my left wrist. So I reached across with my right and was able to pull my helmet off to look forward and assess what the hell had happened to me. As I lie there on my back, half upside down, I was able to just peer over my chest to see that the tree was wedged into my left hip. Directly behind the tree was my sled at a 90-degree angle behind the tree, pinning me in that position. As I ride in the back of the pack, The guys were already into the next riding area. All I could get out were faint calls of help, help, help. But I was gonna have to ride this out until they realized I was missing. It was in those moments, lying on my back, looking up through the trees and the branches into the sky, I started to think about how in the hell am I gonna get out of here? Am I bleeding internally? Am I gonna get home to see my wife and kids? We were 5K from the nearest road, and I knew how damn cold it was. The pain shooting through the lower half of my body at this point was absolutely killing me. Pure and utter panic was starting to set in. I could feel the anxiety, the panic, and the fear starting to take over as I lay there on my own. It was in those moments it dawned on me on my own. This was the one moment of clarity I had that actually saved me from panic and despair. Sorry. There was a lot of pain, but your mind can take you to way darker places than physical pain ever can. Stars Can Come Get Me was peace. Stars Can Come Get Me was hope. Stars Can Come Get Me was me getting home to my family. Once the guys got back to me, we were able to pull the sled off my legs. Still my body bent in half. We weren't out of the woods yet. We talked about trying to straighten out my legs, splint me up, and try and get me to the highway, but there was no way. Any attempts to move my body were met with blasts of pain I really can't describe. And I actually was pretty scared, and we talked about it, that if we tried to straighten out my leg, there was a real chance that we would rupture an artery and I would bleed out. We had to get help. With no cell service, one of my buddies, Wayne, was to ride to the highway to get closer to help to call for 911. I remember clearly lying on my back as he walked to his sled. I yelled out to him, "Wayne, make sure they know we need stars." Over the next 2 hours lying there in the snow, the guys sprang into action. They made a fire close to me to keep me warm. They switched putting their coats on top of me to try and help keep the shaking down. Muscle spasms were quite frequent in my leg at this point, and that's where the real pain was. My leg was trying to hold up a limb that wasn't attached anymore. The rest of the time we joked around, we passed the time, everything was okay. I don't know if stars wasn't an option, that we wouldn't have panicked where we were. We wouldn't have tried to straighten me out and get me to the road. And I still think to this day, I still think about it, that it wasn't an option. Something could have went terribly wrong. Over the next 2 hours, paramedics were rode to my location by snowmobile and my riding buddies. The Roblin Fire Department actually came out with a side-by-side on tracks that they had just purchased a few weeks prior. Stars was on its way, but we were so far from Regina and Saskatoon, the decision was made to get me out of the bush. They were able to load me on the spine board, throw me in the back of the side-by-side, and get me out to the highway. To the Roblin Fire Department and paramedics that were there that day, I'm eternally grateful. He talked about the chain. The chain works. The Roblin Stars arrived, or an ambulance took me to Roblin. Stars arrived and took me to the airport where I was staged before my flight. We waited in one of the airport buildings. They had to refuel the helicopter. I'm pretty sure I was out of the Saskatchewan fly zone. I probably should have been taken to Brandon or Winnipeg, but Stars was taking me home. After a bunch of medical screening, scans, and tests by the Stars crew, I was loaded into the helicopter. I can't describe what it meant to be loaded up, knowing I was going home. I had a long list of surgeries ahead of me, but getting rolled in that helicopter was as good as being at home. Efforts by all the people involved that day, paramedics, firefighters, doctors, nurses, to the Stars crew that was absolutely amazing on that hour-and-a-half flight from Roblin to Regina. We joked around, they kept me calm, they gave me some drugs. To the 4 guys that saved my life, Wayne Condra, Doug Condra, Evan Condra, Mitch Ryabko. To my friends at home that comforted my wife and kids. To my mom and dad. My dad, knowing I'd be in a wheelchair for a while, grabbed my kids and built a massive gramp in my garage, I'm pretty sure before the helicopter landed in Regina. Thank you. Stars, I owe you my life. To all the donors in the crowd tonight, both personal and corporate. I want you to think of the money that goes towards stars, that you put towards stars, as an investment, not a donation. This is the way I see it. You're investing in hope. You're investing in a chance at life. You're investing in someone's comfort at their scariest moment. Think of your wife, your family, your husband, your kids, your grandkids, a coworker, a friend, even yourself. The investment buys that chance at life. It buys hope to get home and calm in a storm of panic. Is it like this time? I'd like to try something with the crowd that I think will show how connected Stars really is in this province. If someone in your family, doesn't have to be immediate family, if someone in your family has been a Stars recipient, could you please stand? If a friend, someone you know, or someone in your community has been a Stars recipient, could you please stand? That speaks for itself, guys. Stars saves lives. Bottom line. Know that every Saskatchewan, Canada, for that matter, is a small place. Someone you know or possibly yourself may need Stars one day. I can't thank you enough. Stars saved my life, brought me home to my family. Jen, Elle, Bo, and Brant, I'm eternally grateful. Have a great evening, everybody. Know that every dollar invested in the Stars changes lives. Stars can come get me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.